Imagine a weapon that could set the entire ocean on fire. Flames shooting from bronze tubes like dragon's breath, spreading across the water's surface, clinging to wood and flesh, and impossible to extinguish even if you used an entire sea of water. This isn't science fiction, but a real weapon that saved an empire from destruction for 700 years. But today, nobody knows what it was made of. Its formula was lost forever, becoming one of the greatest mysteries in military history. Today we're exploring Greek fire, humanity's first chemical weapon, the weapon that changed the entire course of history. Before we begin, if you enjoy hidden history stories like this, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next videos. Thank you so much. Now let's travel back in time to the 7th century. In 674, Constantinople faced the greatest threat in its history. The Arabs, after conquering most of the Middle East and North Africa in less than 50 years, were now targeting the heart of the Byzantine Empire. They didn't come with a few dozen warships. They came with a massive fleet of hundreds of vessels, carrying tens of thousands of elite soldiers, men who had just defeated the mighty Persian Empire. They came with absolute confidence that Constantinople would fall, and all of Europe would fall into the hands of the Umayyad Caliphate. Inside Constantinople, Emperor Constantine IV knew the dire reality. The city's walls were strong, but useless against an attack from the sea. The Byzantine fleet was far outnumbered, and if the Arabs controlled the sea, they could besiege the city indefinitely until Constantinople starved to death. But there was something the Arabs didn't know. Byzantium was holding a secret that could change everything. An engineer named Callinicus, a refugee from Syria after his homeland was conquered by the Arabs, brought to Constantinople an invention he called sea fire. He claimed this was something that could burn an entire fleet without firing a single arrow. At first, many were skeptical. How could you burn something floating on water? But Callinicus wasn't bluffing. He had created a complex flame-throwing system consisting of a container holding a secret chemical mixture, a large bronze tube mounted at the ship's bow, and a pressurized pump mechanism. When tested for the first time, the sight left all witnesses stunned. A violent stream of fire shot from the bronze tube, traveling more than 10 meters, then spreading across the water's surface like a serpent of flame crawling forward. And the most terrifying thing was when they tried using water to extinguish it. The fire burned even stronger, erupting in eerie blue-green flames. Constantine IV immediately recognized this was the weapon Byzantium needed. He ordered Greek fire to be equipped on the entire combat fleet and absolutely kept the formula secret. Only a select few were allowed to know the exact ingredients, and they had to swear they would keep it secret until death. But would it actually work in battle? In 678, after 4 years of siege, the Arabs decided on a final assault. Their fleet advanced toward Constantinople like a massive wall on the sea, sails billowing in the wind. Bows pointed toward the city. Arab sailors shouted, confident that this would be the day Constantinople fell. And then they saw Byzantine ships emerging from the harbor. Smaller ships, fewer men, looking rather feeble. The Arabs laughed mockingly, thinking this would be an easy battle. But when the distance narrowed to about 30 meters, something strange happened. From the bows of Byzantine ships, large bronze tubes began rotating toward the Arab fleet. In that terrifying moment of silence, no one knew what was about to happen. Then the fire began. Streams of blue-green flame shot from the bronze tubes, crossing the distance between ships, and began clinging to the wood of Arab warships. At first, Arab sailors tried to extinguish it with seawater, but something horrifying happened that sent them into panic. Not only did the fire not go out, but it spread wider, erupting in tall flames and clinging to everything it touched. Within minutes, dozens of Arab warships turned into giant fireballs on the sea. The screams of those being burned alive echoed across the bay. Some jumped into the water to escape, but the fire had spread across the sea surface around the ships, turning the water into a hellish lake of fire. Those who jumped in only died more slowly in the sea of flames. The Arab fleet disintegrated. Surviving ships turned and fled in desperate panic, leaving behind comrades being burned alive. The siege of Constantinople, which the Arabs had been certain would succeed, ended in total catastrophic defeat, and the world began to know about Greek fire. After the victory of 678, Byzantium realized they were holding the weapon that determined the empire's survival. Therefore, they built an unprecedented security system in history to protect the Greek fire formula. Only the emperor and a few top engineers knew the complete formula. These people were not allowed to write it down on paper, but had to memorize it and pass it orally to their successors. Each component of the mixture was produced in different locations, and only when loaded onto warships were they mixed together by technicians who had sworn loyalty. The punishment for revealing this secret was extremely severe. Not just simple execution, but the traitor's entire family would be executed, property confiscated, and their name erased from all records. An edict by Emperor Leo VI in the 10th century even declared that the Greek fire formulae was a gift from an angel of God, and anyone who dared reveal it would be cursed forever. But this policy of absolute secrecy led to an unforeseen consequence. When Byzantium collapsed in 1453, no one knew the exact formula anymore. The secret was buried with the empire, and today, even though scientists have tried for centuries, no one can recreate Greek fire exactly. So what was it made of? The remaining historical records only provide vague clues. Some Byzantine documents mention crude oil from Mesopotamia, sulfur, pine resin, and a mysterious component they called rock salt. Modern scholars believe this may have been quicklime, a substance that reacts violently with water and creates extremely high temperatures. The most popular hypothesis is that Greek fire may have been a mixture of light crude oil, sulfur, quicklime, pine resin, and possibly saltpeter or phosphorus. When these substances were mixed and sprayed under high pressure, they created a flammable liquid that stuck to every surface. Quicklime is the key to explaining why Greek fire burned strongly when it encountered water. When quicklime contacts water, it creates a violently exothermic reaction, raising the temperature to over 150 degrees Celsius, enough to ignite the other flammable substances in the mixture. This explains why ancient sailors trying to extinguish the fire with water only made things worse. However, even if we know the possible ingredients, exact recreation remains impossible. The precise ratios, the processing procedures, and there may have been other secret ingredients that documents never mentioned. Some historians believe Byzantium may have added some rare chemicals from special mineral deposits in Anatolia, deposits that have since been depleted or whose locations are no longer known. Greek fire remains a mystery that may never be fully solved. After the 678 victory, Greek fire became the decisive weapon in every major Byzantine naval battle. In 717, when the Arabs returned with an even larger fleet of 1,800 warships and over 120,000 soldiers, they were again decimated by Greek fire. This time, Byzantium had perfected the technique, turning the Sea of Marmara into a massive fiery hell from which almost no Arab warship escaped. For 700 years, from the 7th to the 13th century, Greek fires saved Byzantium from destruction countless times. The Bulgars tried to attack by sea in the 9th century and were burned to ashes. The Rus from Kiev brought hundreds of warships down the Black Sea in 941, and they met the same fate. A Russian chronicle wrote that, "The Greeks have fire like lightning from heaven, and they launched it at our ships so we could not defeat them." The psychological impact of this weapon was even greater than its destructive power. Enemy fleets feared Greek fire so much that many attacks on Constantinople were canceled right at the planning stage. Just the rumor that the Byzantine fleet was equipped with Greek fire was enough to make opponents abandon their intention to fight at sea. But no weapon remains invincible forever. In the 12th and 13th centuries, Greek fire began to lose effectiveness, partly because opponents had learned to counter it, such as hanging wet hides on the sides of ships to reduce flammability, or attacking from a distance, with catapults instead of closing in. Partly because Byzantium began to lack the necessary raw materials after losing its eastern provinces, where crude oil and important minerals were produced. The last time Greek fire was used effectively was in 1203, in the defense of Constantinople against the Venetian fleet and the Crusaders. But by 1204, when Constantinople fell, the formula seemed to have been completely lost. Historians believe the last engineers who knew the formula died in the sacking, or took the secret to their graves because they didn't want enemies to know. When Byzantium recovered in 1261, it tried to recreate Greek fire, but failed. Experiments produced flammable mixtures, but they didn't have the special properties of the original. Gradually, Greek fire became just a legend in memory, a weapon from a golden age that had passed. By 1453, when Constantinople fell to the Ottomans, the secret was lost forever. Sultan Mehmed II had people search for all documents about Greek fire, but found nothing. The greatest formula in ancient military history had vanished along with the empire it once protected. Greek fire wasn't just a weapon, but proof of the intelligence and determination of a civilization facing extinction. For 700 years, it was the shield protecting Constantinople from countless invasions, allowing Byzantium to survive long enough to preserve the knowledge of the ancient world and transmit it to the modern world. Without Greek fire, Constantinople might have fallen in the 7th or 8th century, and European history would be completely different. The Renaissance might never have happened because the Greek and Roman philosophical books that Byzantium preserved would have been burned. Eastern Christianity might have disappeared, changing the entire religious map of the world. And today, its formula remains one of the greatest mysteries that science cannot answer. It's a reminder that there is great knowledge humanity once possessed, but then lost forever, buried in the ashes of history. Greek fire, the weapon that could set the ocean ablaze, is now just a legend. But its legacy remains in every modern chemical weapon, in every military flamethrower system, and in the memory of an empire that once accomplished the impossible.